So why do you think podcasts are so attractive these days?
There's a couple of reasons why podcasts are really attractive. The first one is that it's an extremely efficient medium in that it doesn't compete with you visually, right? So in this day and age where everybody's trying to compete for your visual attention, whether it be Netflix, YouTube, TV, magazine, Facebook, Instagram, etc., etc.
So many.
Podcast is only taking your audio, your hearing. And I think in that specific instance, there are certain times where you're not able to use your eyes to do certain things, like you're at the gym, or you're at the commute time, or you're in the shower doing household chores, etc. And those times are actually perfect for podcasts, right? Where you can actually unlock time that you thought was basically being wasted almost doing these chores. You're able to actually get more information or get some sort of entertainment. I think the second part is actually the closeness that you get with the podcaster, right? I think that's something that you don't necessarily get when you're looking at somebody behind a screen. When you're listening to someone on a weekly or daily basis, you almost have this level of intimacy with them that you don't necessarily get when you're looking at them at a screen. And I think that's something that it's hard to describe, but once you actually experience it, I think it's very visceral, and it feels very real, that connection you build with the creator.
So clearly the market is growing, and that's why you decide to build an ecosystem, basically?
Yeah. We saw that there was this big trend towards podcasting globally, and there wasn't as many creators or companies dedicated to this industry in Taiwan. So we felt like it was a good time for us to kickstart that ecosystem, whether it be creating our own original shows. We have 20 or so SoundOn podcasts. We also have a platform for creators that allows them to host podcasts onto our platform. We have an app that allows listeners to actually better find Chinese, Taiwan-specific content. So, we really wanted to kind of build, and it's frankly gone much faster than we expected. We've accumulated 25 million downloads already in just less than 8 months of time. And I think,
so impressive.
Yeah, I think we were maybe expecting maybe a third or half, at least half of that volume initially. But
That's
it's
faster than you thought?
much faster than we expected. And I think that's obviously we're hoping that has a little bit to do with us, but I think that's to the credit also of a lot of these creators coming in and saying, hey, we want to actually spend our time and energy creating podcasts to actually attract additional listeners to come into the podcast industry.
Are you surprised that in Taiwan, we have so many creators or podcasters all of a sudden?
Not really, honestly. I think that was actually one of our thesis coming into this project, where we felt like Taiwan had a slew of very, very strong creators, whether it be YouTubers, Instagram influencers, Facebook influencers, et cetera. And I think podcasting just gives them an additional medium for people who say, okay, I'm not necessarily as good at writing blog posts, or I'm not necessarily good at taking pretty photos. I'm not necessarily good at building high quality videos, but I am a very good storyteller. I'm a very good interviewer. I'm a very good person that can use audio and use my voice to really attract people and actually tell a good story and provide information in a very fun and interesting way. And I think in that instance, we've seen that come to fruit, because basically there's been a lot of creators that actually have almost instantly become a very, very successful podcasters in the past few months.
Yeah. So with this new business, what's your goal?
Our goal is really to make, if you look at maybe the U.S. as a measuring stick, the latest some of the latest stats coming out of the U.S. are saying that approximately a third of the U.S. population actually have a monthly listening to podcast habit.
A third?
1/3 of the entire U.S. population, right? Which is huge. So a third of people actually listen to podcasts on a monthly basis. I think that is something that we want to aim for in Taiwan as well. And once you get to there, then podcast becomes essentially a mainstream media, right? It's a media, it's a format that everybody can't ignore.
Something new,
yeah. And it's not a niche market anymore. And people, start to have very, very high quality creators and high quality companies come into the industry to really start creating and build more tools and create more content.